About 2 years ago, I packed my bags and left everything I knew behind. Everyone tells you that living abroad is hard, and that's right. It's nothing like you see in K-dramas. It's messy. From the language gaps, the cultural shifts, and those awkward moments when you realize you just ordered a coffee when you definitely meant to order tea. But between those challenges, there's a different kind of beauty. You meet people who become your second family, and you build a life that is entirely your own. South Korea became my second home. Now, the question I get the most is, was it worth it, and should I still move there in 2026? Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm just going to be talking about whether it's still worth it to move to Korea in 2026. As someone who lived and worked in South Korea for over 2 years, and just a disclaimer, everything is going to be based on my personal experience. It's not going to be a reflection of anyone else or anyone else's opinion, but mine. So we're going to get right into the video, and if you see me looking down, I just have some notes on my laptop just so that I don't ramble on too much. But yeah, let's get right into the video. A little bit of a backstory. So I moved to South Korea in 2023 to go work as an English teacher, and honestly, I've had a really great time and experience. There has been a few challenges here and there, but overall I really enjoyed my time in South Korea. I made really good friends that I'm still friends with even today, and I hope it's gonna be a lifetime friendship. But yeah, today I'm gonna be sharing some pros and cons of living and working in South Korea, specifically as an English teacher, because that is the job that I did while I was there. To start it off, let's talk about money, which is very important for most people, because I know most people do not leave their home country just for fun. They leave because maybe they don't have a job in their home country, or they want to earn a little bit more than they're actually earning, which is why they move abroad for better opportunities. So cost of living in South Korea, since starting to live in South Korea in 2023 compared to now, cost of living has definitely gone up. Like every part of the world, we have seen inflation has taken a toll on many countries. For example, the value of the rand to won currently, last time I checked, was 1 rand is equal to 70 Korean won. So I remember when I started working in South Korea and I was sending money back to my South African bank, I would send about 1,000,000 Korean won, and that would amount to about 14,000 rand. And recently, like before I left Korea, I don't know now if it's gone down or what, but before I left Korea, it had gotten to about 11,000 rand. So I would send 1,000,000 Korean won to my SA card, and that would amount to like 11,000 rand. You can see that things have gotten more expensive. The value for Korean won to rand has gotten less. However, having been back in South Africa, coming back from South Korea, I still feel like South Africa is a bit more expensive compared to South Korea. I mean, there are still things in South Korea like fruits that are a bit more expensive than other things. However, you can still get by with your salary as a teacher. But also, that is also dependent on personal goals and the kind of lifestyle that you want to live. And yeah, second point is limited options when it comes to work. So most people leave, especially from South Africa. I'm gonna speak from a South African perspective because that's the perspective I relate more to. They leave South Africa to go to South Korea to become English teacher, which I feel like it's very limiting in terms of career growth. Because there's not really much growth in the ESL industry itself. And if you are looking for other option within Korea, like maybe to go into marketing or media or whatever, it's really difficult, especially if you are black and if you are from Africa. Unless you actually speak Korean, there are some opportunities, but for the most part, if you do not have any level of Korean, it's gonna be difficult to change into a different job, which I felt like for me it got redundant, honestly, being a teacher and doing the same thing each and every time or each and every year, because you would get different students, but it would still be the same routine each and every year and everything. So it kind of got boring because I just felt like I wasn't challenged enough. There wasn't enough growth for me in this space. So I really loved living in Korea, but I wasn't really interested or excited by the job, which is why I ended up coming back. So if you're gonna move to Korea, I feel like if you're gonna go there for a short term, that would be great because you can get to experience a lot within the short space that you were there. However, if you're looking for career growth and long-term ventures, then I would suggest looking at how you can expand yourself and your skills within different work industry. While we are still on the work and limited opportunities, just to touch on being a teacher specifically, it's a very fast industry. Life in Korea in general is very fast paced, and working in the English industry also, they want fast results and everything. And the one downside that I have experienced, especially being in the private academy of teacher sector, not in public, is that there is very limited sick leave. Most of the time it's really non-existent. They will want you to go to the doctor and then come back to school and work. And it's not all academies, but with most of the academies that I worked at 3 different academies. There was only one out of the 3 where I was able to take my sick day and be at home. They do require a doctor's note, which I don't mind. Obviously, if I'm sick, I am gonna go to the doctor. But the other 2 that I worked at, and based on other people's experience that I've interacted with, they will want you to go to the doctor and come back to work and continue as if everything is fine, which I really did not like. Lack of holidays is another issue. If you're gonna be working for a public academy, you're gonna have really limited holidays. 11 holidays in the year, 5 in the summer and 6 or 5 in the winter, which is like, when do I get time to actually do the things that I want? Granted that you have red days, which are public holidays, so you get more time off, but it's just annoying to know that you get 5 days of vacation, and if you want to travel, it's limiting actually how long you can be in a specific place. So consider that. However, if you're going to be in the public school, the holidays are different. I don't know exactly how much holiday they get, and I'm not going to get into it, but they get more holidays compared to when you're working in a private academy. Dating and social life, I feel like it's hard. Honestly, to be honest, it's hard to begin with, to get people you connect with and to build long-term connections. But it is possible. It's not impossible, it is possible. And I think a lot of people go to Korea with the mindset, oh, I want to make Korean friends. I mean, I had a couple of Korean friends, but it's really difficult in terms of language and everything. But it is possible to make friends in Korea. And one thing that I did was to find friends through Bumble BFF. I did meet people on Bumble BFF and we became friends. I mean, some have since left Korea and I stayed behind. One friend that I'm like, she's my best friend, we met while traveling. So I think when you move to a foreign country, you need to be open to putting yourself out there, just being comfortable with doing uncomfortable things. Because before, I was not someone who would like approach people or, you know, do things like get on Bumble BFF to meet people. But when I left South Africa to go to South Korea, I told myself I need to build solid relationships, and I'm gonna do that by putting myself out there, which is why I started. I've made some friends on TikTok. You know, you reach out to people on TikTok, you meet up, and if you vibe, you become friends. So it is possible to make genuine connections and genuine friendships. However, you need to go the extra mile and put yourself out there. And sometimes you need to understand, because we are all in a foreign country and not all of us are there for long term. Some of your friends, you'll make connection with them and be friends with them, and they will leave the country eventually, because obviously we're all not there for long term. So that is also something you need to be comfortable with, and knowing that some of my friends are gonna leave, but I feel like you need to enjoy the beauty of friendship while they are still there. Next thing is gonna be safety and transportation. This is something that a lot of people touch on a lot when they talk about Korea and how safe Korea is. And being a woman, that is something that a lot of people look for, especially if you are going to be in a foreign country. So Korea is definitely safe, but it doesn't mean that you should just not be aware and vigilant of what you're doing and your surroundings. Like any other country, it does have its fair share of incidences of, you know, crime. It's not as big or as major as other places, but there has been incidents where people were stabbed for no reason in the train station, you know. So there are incidents that happens that are not spoken about a lot. However, if I'm being honest, it is definitely safe in Korea, and I hope it stays that way, because I feel that the more we speak about it, that is the more people will want to corrupt it. But currently it's really safe. I could run at night without feeling like I have to be looking over my shoulder a lot, which is something I appreciated. You know, transportation, like I said, it's really accessible and cheap. You know, subway, buses, you can get from, I don't know, from, if I'm in South Africa, you can get from Joburg to the Free State really easy, really affordably, either with a bullet train or with a bus. So I really appreciated the convenience of transport. And I didn't live in Seoul, but I was in Seoul like almost every weekend, and people would start to ask me, are you living in Seoul now? And I was like, no. But because of how convenient and cheap it was, and because that's where some of my friends lived, and it was just central to a lot of things, I enjoyed being in Seoul. So that's why I was spending a lot of time in Seoul. Also, Korea is a very walkable country, so you get to, especially if you are in the major city. I know like in smaller rural places it's not as walkable, things are a bit like far from each other, but you can walk in Korea to a lot of places. You can walk to work, you can walk to the mart, so that's another way of saving money. Another point is racism. Like any other country, there is racism in Korea. Racism is everywhere in the world. It's just that it differs in degrees of how intense the racism is. And in Korea, I just feel like because Korean people are people who are very to themselves, the racism come across as very like passive aggressive. Like they'll give you a weird stare and look at you in like weird ways, but they won't really come to you or say anything to you, especially as a black female. In South Korea, you will get a lot of stares. In my 2 years and 6 months of living in Korea, I've only had one incident where someone was like directly racist to me, and they were calling me names and telling me to go back to where I come from. But if I'm being honest, I feel like that woman was really not fine, which is why she was going on and on and on and on. But apart from that, I haven't really had any racist attack towards me or racist comments towards me. And just on the point of racism, it's not really racism, but Korean people like literally just touch you out of nowhere. It happens a lot, especially as a black girl. If you have your natural hair out or your braids, they'll just come up to you and just touch you without any reason or without even asking you first. But I feel like over the years it has gotten better, where people will look first and ask and then be like, oh, can I touch? But like when I got to Korea initially, they'll just touch your hair for no reason, and I'm like, you don't know me like that, don't do that, you know. And the real question is, would I still move to South Korea in 2026? And my answer would be 100% yes. I would recommend anyone who wants to have an experience of living outside of their home country to consider South Korea, especially if you're going to be going as a teacher. It's really easy to get into. However, for me personally, I feel like it's not a long-term career path. It's not a long-term journey. It's something that you do for a year or two and move on to the next. So I would definitely still move to South Korea in 2026 if I hadn't been already and I had this information to my disposal. However, even with that being said, Me personally, I would still move to South Korea in 2026 and years to come to go live in South Korea. However, I wouldn't want to work in South Korea because I just feel like the work environment is really toxic. Whether you're a teacher, you're in the marketing space, you're in the business space, you're in IT, I just don't like how they work you to the bones, you know. So I would want to move back to South Korea definitely, but working remotely somewhere in the world, you know, just have the experience of being in the South Korean space, environment, lifestyle, but with a job elsewhere in the world. So if you are considering moving to Korea, I would recommend that you definitely do it. But first, know your why. You have to definitely know why you're doing it. Get your priorities right, get your goals right, and then everything else will just fall into place. And if you are moving to South Korea this year, because the new semester, new academic year is starting soon in March, all the best to you. Make sure you enjoy your time in South Korea. South Korea is a really beautiful country with a lot of things to experience. It's not easy. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you and say everything is gonna be nice and rosy, but with every down there is an up. With every challenge there is goodness that comes from it. So just prepare your mind and yourself for the challenges and the good times, and you will have a blast in South Korea. And maybe, just maybe, I will be seeing some of you guys in South Korea later this year. But thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Give this video a massive thumbs up if you liked it, and leave any comments that you have or any question that you have down in the comments below, and I will try my best to answer it. So see you guys in my next video.